the end of the confirmation proceedings, meaning that this phase before the ICC judges is done. We will never have to redo it again. And this is one of the main aims why we did this, to move the process along while he is still not arrested, that we do not sit by idly and do nothing, but to move it along, because it is a requirement before the ICC to have a confirmation of charges, to test the evidence, to see is this a strong case that can go to trial. And the judges have confirmed that it is. The case is strong enough based on our evidence to go to trial. What now? This is where it gets frustrating, of course. And Dagiro and I have not been sugarcoating this aspect of everything in our meetings that we have had with stakeholders in northern Uganda throughout the week. Everything depends on whether he is now arrested or surrendered. If he is not, we will not have a trial. Only if he actually gets arrested and handed over and appears before the judges in The Hague will we be able to move to the next phase. The judges have made this clear. This is also how the statute foresees these proceedings. It's an exceptional proceeding reduced to the confirmation phase that we can proceed in the absence of an accused. So we are working with our partners to finally have him arrested and surrendered. But until this time, the next steps will not materialize. And I will leave it at that for now. I'm hoping you have some questions for us. Thank you.
Leonie and Dahiro for the brief background and details regarding the outcome of the decision. We'll open the floor for questions. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for this wonderful and timely update. My name is Farouk Kasule, I work with New Vision newspaper, state paper for the record. My question is, you've indicated that you're working with partners. So the public would like to know, is there any chances of getting him? Have you got some breakthrough? Do we know which area is he operating now? Because one at one point was in Congo, another at one point in Ethiopia. So do we have all that information with you so that we can share with the public that all is not lost, the hope is there to have him apprehended? Then two, that is not arrested or doesn't surrender at all, and this process is in futurity, would this be justice to the victims? And if not, what are the plans rehabilitated in this context? Thank you.
It's the only way we know you want to ask, by identifying.
My name is Judith Kukonda, I work with Uganda Radio Network. My question, it's about Dominic Ongwen. I don't know if I'm asking the right people, but I believe you're competent enough to answer me. In June 2024, the Trust Fund for Victims requested for about $5 million to start the reparation process of Dominic Ongwen victims, about 50,000, and then we understand that a court order was issuing about 52.4 million euros. So all the victims of the trust of Dominic Ongwen. So I want to understand whether there are some state countries that have started making their contributions, and whether our own government of Uganda has put in something in regards to the to the compensation for the victims. Thank you.
Could you be having information of where Kony is right now? Then you might get the second one is related to Farouk. What efforts have you made to capture Kony? Thank you.
I work for the monitor. My question is about, this is related to Farouk and Ode, about the whereabouts of Kony. Do we have hope that we shall have him arrested or not? Thank you. And maybe the second question is about why has it taken this long to apprehend Kony, and yet there are other warlords who have been apprehended before? Like, why is it so difficult to have Kony apprehended? Thank you.
Thank you very much for them. Yes. So let me start with that I firmly believe the international community and the victims of northern Uganda should definitely not. Why do I say that? It's because that there have been many cases in the past where it has taken long for fugitives to be arrested, and indeed sometimes it doesn't work out in the end. But even though it is frustrating, especially for the victims, but also for us working at the Office of the Prosecutor, that it is taking so long, this is not the time to give up hope at all. Our hope is that this decision reinvigorates efforts that have been going on and may lend to new efforts added motivation. Now, I cannot share details with you about who our partners are, what information we are sharing amongst each other. It is too sensitive and too risky to share this type of information in the public domain, because I'm sure you understand that we do not just work with information that comes from publicly available sources. So we have to be very careful about the risks involved in exposing information, the risks involved to those who we are working with. So why is it so difficult to arrest Mr. Kony? Look, if you look at the history of Mr. Kony's conduct in northern Uganda and after 2005, the progression, the development of the LRA, his movements that are publicly known already, you can deduce from that that he has moved and is likely still moving in difficult territories that are not always members of the Rome Statute, meaning state parties that we are more easily able to cooperate with than others. So that already gives you an indication of why it is difficult to secure his arrest. The second major impediment is that the ICC itself does not have a police force or a military force. So we are dependent on partners to assist us in arresting and surrendering fugitives. And in this sense, Mr. Kony is not the only one that is on our list of wanted fugitives and has been on our list for many, many years. So in that sense, he is a particularly frustrating case, but unfortunately, he is not the only one. It comes down to cooperation with the court. And the more cooperation there is, the higher the likelihood that he will be arrested. That's for now, and have Dahiru address the other questions. Is that okay with you, Dahiru?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. On the fugitive of the ICC, it's probably worth highlighting that he's not the only one. And publicly, we have 31 arrest warrants that need to be executed as we speak. Just said that. What if he's not arrested? What if he's never surrender, you said, and what is the outcome for victims? If he is never, if he never surrenders, it means we will still be looking for him until such a time that there is no longer reason to arrest him. But definitely, in the event he was to die, or whether if he is deceased, it means that the proceedings at the court will be terminated, just as was the case for Rascal Kuya, Okoto Diambo, and Vincent Oti. And the resulting consequence of that is that there would be no reparation provided to the victims. So when you're asking whether there would be any form of rehabilitation plan, what I can say is that there has been rehabilitation activities conducted by the Trust Fund for at least 15 years now in Uganda, because they did not wait for a conviction to take place in the situation before taking a step to provide some sort of assistance to victims in the whole area of northern Uganda. And they have done that to at least 85,000 victims who were in need of such assistance. So the question as regards the work that the Trust Fund has done, whether they have been able to collect money and whether Uganda is contributing, I think I'll leave it to Maria, because Maria has been very much involved in that process, which is basically run by the Trust Fund for Victims together with the outreach unit in Uganda.
To raise money, take parties to the Rome Statute. So without specifying or mentioning the role of Uganda in it, and the trust fund is still open to receiving the money so that the reparation effort could be implemented. The trust fund is working closely with the government of Uganda through different line ministries to see how the support, not only financial support, but different forms of support could be provided to the implementation of the various forms of reparations ordered by the ICC. The trust fund cannot do it alone. It requires the support and the structures that are there. If you have to do rehabilitation, community-based rehabilitation, you need the local authorities, you need government to do so, you need traditional and religious institutions to be able to do so. And on the ground, anything related to health, you will need the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Health to implement the different angles of community-based reparations ordered by the court. So the fundraising, cut a long story short, is ongoing, and it was not Uganda targeted, it's all the states that are targeted to raise that money from them. The efforts are going on. There are calls to states, bilateral meetings, and different arrangements for the fundraising to go on. I don't have the correct answer of a yes or no.
Any other Ugandan on that list apart from Joseph Kony?
My other question is about, we have a time frame in which to have Kony apprehended, or it's going to be an endless hunt for him for forever. That is, we're going to hunt for Kony. Secondly, do we have any signs that Kony is still alive? We could be hunting for someone who's already dead. So, do we have any signs to show that this warlord still exists? Thank you.
That question has been asked, let me first read it. But now that we are with the prosecution team, in this case, or so far, you have lined up for this case? Thank you.
There's nothing I can say. Anything I would say would not be, it would be purely speculative. And I can also not engage in any conversation on whether or not we know where he is, for the reasons I said earlier. It's too sensitive information to engage in a public discussion, nurturing potential speculations, and also potentially endangering ongoing activities of any potential partners we're working with. So I cannot comment on that. I can tell you, of course, how many witnesses we rely on for this case. It is slightly above, it is around 180 that we have identified as pertinent for this particular case. This includes victims who were affected by, for example, the IDP camp attacks, or were abducted and enslaved and sexually abused and abused in other ways at the hands of the LRA under kony's command and orders. It also includes former fighters within the LRA, some of which had also been abducted and forcibly recruited into the LRA. It concerns community, persons from the community, expert witnesses, so a wide range of persons that we consider crucial to proving the charges. So that is basically the list. We of course have more witnesses within the situation, but the pool we have identified are most important to proving the charges. Thank you.
And on your question on the list of fugitives, reason being that ICC only issued 5 arrest warrants in the situation in Uganda. One in relation to Ongwen, who, as you know now, was convicted. 3 others who were terminated because the other 3 were presumed dead or declared dead, and those were Diambo, Oti, and Bukuya. So the only one that remains in the situation is Joseph Kony, and as you also know, the Office of the Prosecutor has already concluded that it was no longer going to investigate in the situation. So the situation is closed, with the exceptions of Joseph Kony case, which is still pending, as you all have heard today.
Asked earlier, I consulted with my colleagues who work in the Trust Fund for Victims, and I'm just going to read what he said to me, that they have not received a donation from the government of Uganda so far in support of reparations, and also there has not been any donation from any state that is earmarked to reparations of Dominic Ongwen. So they have really been receiving funds, but it is not earmarked. So states are not saying we're giving this money for Dominic Ongwen's reparations, but they are giving money to the Trust Fund for Victims, which, according to my colleague here, they are planning to allocate those available funds to begin the implementation of reparations early 2026.
To apprehend him, we will be interested, and that fund is also there for whoever would assist to apprehend Joseph Kony.
Dahiru will keep around for another 10 minutes if you need sound bites. Thank you very much. Naomi, you have a final comment?
Yes, thank you very much is all I want to say, that you take the time to engage with us. Maybe the bottom line message, we are working towards having him arrested. The Office of the Prosecutor wants to send the message, and I personally, that we are ready now for the moment that he is arrested. We have a strong case, a case that can proceed to trial, and the evidence is of such nature that I feel confident that we can also achieve a conviction. So basically, there should be no hesitation whatsoever anymore to having him arrested and surrendered and brought before the ICC, because with this decision, with the evidence we have, we can swiftly move to trial and convict Joseph Kony. Thank you.
Any further specific questions? I'm around for the next 10-15 minutes, so I'll be happy to engage. Thank you again for coming. I'm Joseph Kony. So in November 2022, the Office of the Prosecutor decided to request the ICC judge for a confirmation of charge in absentia, meaning in the absence of Joseph Kony. That proceeding was granted, and from the 9th to the 10th of September 2025, hearing took place in the Hague, where Joseph Kony was represented by his lawyers, and the Office of Prosecutor presented 39 charges against him with supporting evidence. As a result of that hearing, the judge confirmed the 39 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity against Joseph Kony. Those charges relate to 7 attacks against IDP camps, those of Bajule, Agag, Abog, Odeg, Lukodi, Badlonyo, Abiya, and an attack against the secondary girls' Luala school, attacks against also systemic crimes of abduction and enslavement of thousands of children, women and girls, and the rape of 2 women who were abducted and enslaved as forced wives to Joseph Kony. So on the 6th of November, the judges of the ICC confirmed those charges. This is a historic development at the ICC because this is the first time it is happening, but at the same time, the confirmation of charge in absentia has found closure with that decision. What does it mean? That only when Joseph Kony is surrendered to the ICC, we will be able to move to the trial, where we would then have to obviously challenge any position that the Office of Prosecutor would come up with. At this stage, there is no longer proceeding that will be entertained at the ICC. So we're doing whatever is necessary with our partners to make sure that we apprehend him and brought him before the court. Agents that he is still alive, and that is the reason why we have actually conducted these in absentia proceedings. The advantage, as I said earlier on, is that once he appears before the court, we will move straight to trial. So efforts are being undertaken to make sure he is apprehended. With our different partners to ensure that he is arrested. That is an information I can't disclose. The reason being that it would present some risk for the partners and the sources that we are working with. As you know, in 2005, the ICC issued arrest warrants against top 5 leaders of the LRA. These are Joseph Kony, Pascal Lukria, Okot Odiembo, Vincent Oti, and Dominic Onwen. You know that Dominic Onwen was convicted and sentenced to 25 years of imprisonment. However, Pascal Lukria, Vincent Oti, and Okot Odiembo, they are presumed dead or have been declared dead, and as a result, the ICC judge have terminated proceedings against them. So the only one who remains alive from the 5 that is still running and evading justice is Joseph Kony. So because the Office of Prosecutor and the prosecutor himself wanted to actually move forward to ensure that justice is delivered for the victims of his crime, he has decided in November 2022 to actually request the ICC judge to confirm the charges against Joseph Kony in his absence. This is something that is provided in the Rome Statute of the ICC. That means that when charges are confirmed, should the suspect appear or surrender to the ICC, then we move straight to the trial. So, in September 2025, from the 9th to the 10th, after having granted this request, the judge held the hearing in which Joseph Coyne's rights were represented through his defense lawyer, his defense team. We, the Office of Prosecutor, made a presentation of all the evidence on which the 39 charges that we brought against him was actually were built. Those charges relate to attacks against 7 IDP camps. We're talking about the Lukodi, Pajule, Pagak, Abok, Odek, Barlonyo, and Abia IDP camps. The attack against the on the Luana Secondary Girls School, the systemic abduction and enslavement of thousands of children, women, and girls, and lastly, the rape of 2 women who were abducted and enslaved by, as forced wives, by Joseph Coy himself. So following the hearing, the judge actually confirmed all the 39 charges that we brought against Joseph Coyne. This is a very positive decision, which means that now we just have to have Joseph Coyne arrested to move to the next stage, which is the trial. And under the ICC Rome Statute, there can be no trial in the absence of a person, which means that he has to be present to be able to respond to the charges we, the prosecution, are bringing against him. So at this stage, what we're doing, and also strengthened by this decision, is that we also galvanizing efforts with different partners, different states, in order to actually apprehend Joseph Coyne unless he surrenders himself to the ICC.